Hello, I am here in my garden. It's just, the last couple of days we've had a little bit of rain. Everything's really green, everything's really vibrant, everything is just so beautiful. Everything's really popping right now. And so I thought, what better place to be than in my garden underneath Shepotrella with my corn and my roses and the greenness and the beauty around me. And today I'm going to be talking with you about the Trecena of Ajmak. Now, I wanted to start, as I often do, by kind of like a little bit of housekeeping and that kind of thing. And the first thing that I want to mention is that my 2026 calendar is now available. So if you want a calendar that will run from January 2026 through to the end of February 2027, because what I wanted to do is incorporate the whole Mayan solar year. Now, the Mayan solar year of one Kech, that's going to start on the 18th of February of 2026. So I need to run through to the 18th of February 2027 to get that whole solar year in. So it's a 14-month calendar. Maybe you've still got a couple of months left from last year's one. But I just wanted to let you know that that's now available. I'll be running a calendar workshop in January from the 5th to the 9th of January. That will be 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Guatemala time. And of course, throughout this time, I'm also offering readings, which you can do over Zoom. And so if you go to the readings page on my site, you'll find out about them. So we're going into the Trecena of Ajmak on the 19th of November. But before we talk about the Trecena of Ajmak, there's something which is very kind of like important to me that I want to highlight. And that is that Venus will disappear from our morning sky, at least according to the Dresden Codex. Now, I've been, at least thinking about going out for the last 3 or 4 mornings to go and photograph Venus just way slightly above the horizon, just before it drops back down and goes into its period of invisibility. And according to the Dresden Codex, that will happen on 1 Ajmak, on the 19th of November. That's why I mention it right now. And if you've been following me for a while, you'll probably see that I get very excited about the whole Dresden Codex Venus table and kind of like finding out where it's going and how it goes and that kind of thing. And as a consequence, I like to put that information into my site, into my posts and that. Venus has been the morning star since the 28th of March, since the day 12 Ajpu. And in the Venus table of the Dresden Codex, we see these 2 figures. They're the lords of the heliacal rise on the page, which represents Ajpu as the morning star. And they are the ones who are directing the warriors in the second picture to throw spears at a particular victim. And in this case, it was, from what I understand, from what I've had translated for me, the victim was named Tzul, and Tzul was a representative of the foreigner. So it's like the death god and the corn god get together to spear the foreigner. And so it may have been that foreigners may have been under attack in whatever kind of circumstances since March of this year. Well, there's certainly certain things around the world that we can think of where this may have been the case. But the interesting thing, of course, is that Venus is now descending into the underworld. It's like its power rose from March as it got higher in the sky through to June when it reached its highest point. And from then, its power has been waning until right now, where it's going to drop back below the horizon and its power has dissipated. And so it will be, I don't know whether interesting is the right word to use, but I'm going to use it anyway. It will be interesting to see what happens on the global scale now that the power of those lords, now that the power of those in charge has waned and has returned to the underworld, whether they will still have the same kind of like power, and seeing whether the, kind of like the foreigners as they are translated, not my choice of word as it were, whether they will receive some kind of like respite from whatever attacks they might have been under. So there's a little bit about the Venus table. There's a little bit about the reappearance of Venus. So the Trecena of Ajmak, 13 days of forgiveness, 13 days of redemption, 13 days of the human being, because that's what Ajmak represents. Maybe it's something, kind of like it could be a good time to do kind of like some kind of 13-day forgiveness practice. Pick a thing each day and work with it to forgive or be forgiven, to accept and to bring the sweetness back out. So for me, this is something which I think, kind of like we can harness the energy of the calendar in this particular way. But we're going to begin the Trecena of Ajmak on the day 1 Ajmak, which is the 19th of November 2025. So we have Ajmak representing forgiveness, representing pardon, and here combined with the number 1. The number 1 representing the potential, representing the beginning, the newborn. And, well, what can I say? We've got to start somewhere. Even if what we're thinking to do is a massive task, even if what we're thinking about seems almost insurmountable, we got to start somewhere. And 1 Ajmak gives us the potential to start. It gives us the potential to move forward. It gives us the potential to grow. Now, we've got to give it the right environments, like those seeds, this corn that you see growing here, I mean, those seeds might have been in a sack. That sack might have been stored in the dry. Those seeds might be almost a couple of years old before I put them in the ground, and they were doing nothing. It wasn't until I put them in the ground that they grew and became this corn, right? So, like with the seed, we've got to give it the right environment in which to grow. And so if the potential that can be achieved is forgiveness, if the potential that can be achieved is acceptance, what we need to do is cultivate the right environment in order to bring that out. Now, I would say the right environment might be focus, it might be understanding. It might be that, kind of like it's time to let some things go. Because after a while we realize, some of that stuff, especially kind of like, let's say, if we are unforgiving of others, then sometimes this can result in us kind of like carrying that burden. And so that forgiveness is something that we may have to put our effort, our energy into releasing. That is the fertile environment. And that brings about the sweetness of life. And so a great day to start that, if there's something that you kind of like you've found very difficult to forgive, 1 Ajmak is a great day to begin the resolution of that. From 1 Ajmak, on the 20th of November, we then move into Noach. Noach representing the mind, representing the brain, representing information and intellect and intelligence. Noach is the problem solver. And it helps us to use our logic, to use the information and the knowledge that we hold in order to solve the problem. Now here, we see it with the number 2. The number 2, which could be seen as duality. It could represent both sides of the information, both sides of the story, as it were. And the way that I often see it is we are not going to achieve a good solution if we only ever hear one side of the story, if we only ever cherry pick the information from one side. And so, to Noach gives us the opportunity to connect with the information on both sides to get a better understanding of the whole topic. And so, I see this as a great day of resolution. And of course, in this Trecena of Ajmak, of understanding and forgiveness, then sometimes if we've only been looking at something from one side, then it's going to be pretty difficult to forgive because we're not understanding the other side of the story. Sometimes we've got to see things from the opposite point of view, or at least collect the information from the opposite point of view to come to clarity on the solution. Now, that's not saying that we necessarily have to agree with either side, but the important thing is to at least understand the information and the knowledge that each side carries to give us a more profound understanding of what we're really looking at and what we're really trying to solve. From 2 Noch, on the 21st of November, we will then move into 3 Tihash. So we have Tihash, the Nawal of the obsidian blade, the Nawal of healing, the Nawal of purity, connected with the number 3, representing the inner world, representing the home. And so, like, we could see it as healing within the home, but we could also see it as healing within the self. I like to use the phrase that it's the day to polish your inner diamond, like Tihash, cutting away the disease, cutting away the filth, cutting away the things that cause imbalances. And here, with the number 3, it's kind of like the internal imbalances. So I often think about how the 3 days are great days for kind of retreat, great days to kind of like be within the home. And it might be to ask for discernment, to ask for clarity, to understand what needs to be healed, to understand what needs to be cut away within ourselves. As part of the Trecena of Ajmak, as part of the Trecena of healing, of forgiveness, of the redemption and acceptance. What's out of balance within ourselves? Because, kind of like, can we forgive and heal what's on the outside of us if we haven't forgiven and healed what's on the inside of us? 3 Tihash brings us the discernment to look within and understand what needs to heal within before we can forgive without. On the 22nd of November, we then move into 4 Kawok. So Kawok, the Nawal of the rain, the Nawal of the storm. Kawok, the Nawal that brings the new into the world. And here we see it with the number 4, representing the physical realm of existence, representing bringing it down to earth, grounding it. Now, there's something for me about Kawok which wants to bring the new into the world. It's the midwife that brings the new flowers. And here, on the physical day, on the day of the material, this is very much about getting new things into the material realm. Okay? So if you've got a project, a plan, an idea or something like that, then there's that aspect of it. Now, Kawok can also be seen as, kind of like the day that flushed away the old world so that the new world can be born. And here, it's very much connected with physicality, with the material side of things. Now, I'm not sure whether that's going to mean that, kind of like the old world gets flushed away, the material world gets flushed away. I mean, that might be taking a bit of a big step with it. But it's a great day to look around your world at what you've cut away, the imbalances that you've purified from within you, to understand what it is that you're now ready to let go of, to wash away. It's like you released the imbalances and now you're ready to kind of like wash your hands of it so that you can move on in the physical world, so that you can bring the new things that you want to bring in, the new humanity. You can bring that in with the gentle, nourishing rain. Now, Kawok can, I often refer to Kawok as tough love because, she is here to make sure that things move forward. She's here to make sure that things get born. And sometimes in her way of doing that, she's putting herself in a very, very straightforward way. But we can also see that she is compassionate. She wants these things to happen. And so, for me, it's very important to understand that Kawok is here to bring the nourishing rain. That, yes, it might sound a bit scary at first, but it's washing away the old to bring the new into the world. So, from 4 Kawok on the 23rd of November, we then move into 5 Achpu. 5 Achpu, so Achpu, the Nawal of the sun, the Nawal of the growth of the corn, the Nawal of the connection to our hero's path. And here we see it connected with the number 5, representing work, representing having to put our hard work into stuff. So it's putting our work, putting our energy into our spiritual path, putting our work into our connection with our ancestors. And, we're going through this Trecena of Ajmak, this Trecena of forgiveness, this Trecena of pardon. And as such, there's something in there which is saying kind of like, this is not going to drop into your lap. If you want to walk that higher path, if you want to engage with your spiritual purpose, your higher path, or whatever it might be, you're going to have to put the effort into it. And for me, that's what 5 Achpu is all about. It's like, I want to say kind of like, don't be afraid of, rolling up your sleeves and getting on with it today. Because sometimes, yes, of course, synchronicities, the universe is going to place what we need in our path. But we need a little bit of effort from our side as well, And in particular, in this time of forgiveness, this Trecena of forgiveness, this is something where we can really imagine, again, it's not just going to happen. Maybe we have to initiate the process. Maybe we can see something as our higher purpose. And initiating the process of forgiveness is what helps us to engage with our higher purpose. So don't be afraid of the hard work. It's going to help you to connect with your true spiritual path. From 5 Achpu on the 24th of November, we will then move into 6 Imosh. So Imosh representing the water, representing the lake, representing our connection with everybody around us. And here we see it connected with the number 6. Now the number 6 can represent ultimate stability. It can also represent our connection with our family. Now, here in this Trecena of Ajmak, in this Trecena of forgiveness, we have this day that represents the like the psychic field that exists between us and our family, the psychic field that is all around us. And sometimes that is feeding us information that we need to know. It can be very empathic in its nature and that kind of thing. But sometimes it is feeding us stuff which, let's say, we become entangled in the spirit of the time. We get overly involved in things which either don't concern us, or maybe they're not really relevant to us, or whatever it might be. And we lose sight of the dreams that we have for our own family. We lose sight of the dreams that we have for ourselves or whatever, because we're being distracted by something which is in a different country, on a different continent. And yes, of course, things have repercussions. I'm not sort of saying that we should stick our heads in the sand, but sometimes we get way, way, way too attached to things which we can have absolutely no influence over. And for me, 6 Imosh gives us the opportunity to kind of like go back to, where are we going? What is our dream? What do we want to connect with? What consciousness do we want to connect with? What ideas, what dreams do we want to connect with? What dreams do we have for our family? 6 Imosh is a great day to go and sit by the water and kind of re-dream those connections with our family, to go and make our ceremony to give thanks for all that the water brings us, to go and make our ceremony to give thanks for the stability that comes to our family through our dreams. We will move into the day 7 Ik. So we have Ik, the Nawal of the wind, Ik, the Nawal of the breath, connected with the number 7, representing choices, representing endings, representing finality, sometimes representing death as well. Ik can represent our words, it can represent our communication, it can represent the way that we speak. And in some ways I like to call 7 Ik the final word. Now, that final word, kind of like when I use the phrase final word, I mean, firstly, we're kind of like thinking about it going, kind of like the final word, having the final word, kind of like that could be in an argument or something like that. But remember that we're in this Trecena of forgiveness. And sometimes we need to speak the final word, not as a kind of like to win, as it were. We need to speak the final word to draw a line under it and say, right, okay, look, this happened. You're not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. Whatever it might be. But we've got to come to a resolution. And sooner or later, we've got to bring that final word in. Now, the number 7 can also represent choices. So it could be like, in some ways, almost choose your final words. Ik can be soft and gentle and inspiring. Ich can be harsh and destructive. Its words get taken seriously. So it's really important to work out what your final word might be. Now, okay, so there's a couple of dark things in there, what are your final words kind of thing, as it were. But it's almost as if, like, I often think about it, if I'm talking to somebody and I never saw that person again, for whatever reason it might be, how would they remember my final words to them? What would I choose to express myself? And there could be something within that where we might go back and analyse what are our final words, what have been our final words in places which are now in need of forgiveness or something like that. So it's about choosing our words, choosing the way to communicate, choosing something which possibly can help to heal and forgive. So it's a day to choose our words carefully in order to bring balance and to bring forgiveness. On the 26th of November, we then move into 8 Aqbal. Aqbal, the Nawal of the dawn and the dusk. Aqbal, the Nawal of the new concepts which come out. And here we can see it with the number 8 representing wholeness, representing totality. 8 Aqbal, bringing the new concepts into the world. And so when we see it like that, this is the wholeness of the new concept. This is the light and the dark, and understanding the balance between the night and the day. Because, kind of like, much as we might love the long summer days, we might love the sunshine and that kind of thing, without the rain, there would be no greenness. Without the dark, we wouldn't sleep, or, kind of like, the planet would be so different. And it's understanding that we have to have this balance of light and darkness as we go through time in order for us to really have true life. It's a great day for ceremony, to give thanks for what we have received in our dreams. Because for me, Aqbal is the time between the dream and the waking state. It's the moment that we bring those dreams into the world. And so 8 Aqbal is a great time to ask for clarity in our waking moment. I like to say on Aqbal, it's a great time to give thanks for every day on which we have opened our eyes. And so 8 Aqbal, to understand the wholeness of the dark and the wholeness of the light, to understand the whole cycle of the day, And, even if we're looking at it from the Trecena of Ajmak perspective, we can see that we will go through times of light and times of darkness, and times when we're, walking along in the beautiful light, and times when we feel like we're walking through the underworld. It's all part of the human experience, which is what Ajmak is all about. So Achabal gives us the opportunity to identify that both sides are needed, the light and the dark, in order for life to happen. From Achabal, on the 27th of November, we will then go to 9 Cat. So Cat representing gathering, Cat representing bringing things together, representing multiplication. It's the net into which we take our harvest, but it's also that which binds us. And here we see it with the number 9, representing the feminine, but also representing life itself. Okay? And, it might ask us, what are we bound to in life? It might ask us where our attachments might have come. Are they healthy attachments? Are they attachments that hold us back? In this Trecena of Ajmak, perhaps those attachments, we might even be attached to something that we're angry to. Kind of like sometimes we get so upset about something that forms who we are. That's not really who we are. It's just that we forgot to let go of it. Maybe we forgot to empty it from our net, and it became a burden, an albatross around our neck, as it were. So within this time of forgiveness, it is a day to celebrate our freedom. It's a day to release from our net the burdens of life so that we can move forwards as happy, loving, healthy human beings. If we release what we've been holding in our net, we make more space for what we actually need in life. So by releasing those attachments to shame or blame or guilt, then we can bring in the bounty of life. And for me, that's what that 9 Cat represents. It's like working out what we no longer need to carry in our life so that we can allow what we do need to carry to come into our life. From 9 Cat, on the 28th of November, we will then move into 10 Can. So Can, the Nawal of power and wisdom, the Nawal of the serpent, and here with the number 10, representing the hands coming together, community. This can be very much, Can is very much about teaching. It's very much about sharing our wisdom in order to empower others. Who are the others we're empowering? The community. It's a day of teachers within our community. It's a day of sharing our wisdom in order to bring that power to our community. So, for me, it's very important to share our wisdom. It's very important to get that over to others, to bring that empowerment to others. And here, kind of like going out into our community on the day 10 Can. Giving people a hand up, because that 10 is not just about coming to agreements, using our wisdom to come to agreements on 10 Can. It's also about using the power or the wisdom that we have to give people a hand up. Or maybe it's about asking to, for some help. So it's a great day to share. It's a great day to empower our community through the wisdom that we carry. On the 29th of November, we will then go into 11 Kamei. So we have Kamei, the Nawal of the ancestors, the Nawal of death and transformation, connected with the number 11, this high and unpredictable but very creative essence. And so the number 11, I often see, they're following their intuition, going from one place to another. They don't necessarily know exactly where they're going to go first or where they're going to go next. The important thing is that they follow their intuition for wherever it is that they're going to go. And here we see it connected with the Nawal Kamei, connected with the ancestors, transformation. It's about facing our fears. Now, sometimes when I think about the 11, I think about it's over here, then it's over here, then it's over here, then it's over here. And it may be a day on which many different fears come up and they might not even seem to be related. Sometimes I think about, that fairground game where the crocodile pops up out of the hole and you've got to tap the crocodile to knock it back down again. It's like you don't know where it's going to come from next. But the whole idea is about getting over the game. The whole idea is about, kind of like ensuring that you can continue dealing with those fears as they come up. So it may bring things from unsuspected places to be solved. And how might you solve it? Well, you might solve it by connecting with your ancestors. That would be one way of doing it. Because your ancestors have the answers. Your ancestors have the power. So, 11 Kame, to understand how to connect with our ancestors in order to solve whatever problem gets thrown at us. Whatever fear we might have to face. From 11 Kame, on the 30th of November, we then move into 12 Kirch. Kirch, the Nawal of the green place, the Nawal of the mountain place. Kirch, our connection with nature, our connection with the natural world. And here, combined with the number 12, representing all of our life experience. Kirch brings along with it spiritual leadership. Kirch brings along with it strength and confidence and understanding. It's what we get when we walk in those places, when we connect with nature. So I always think about Kirch days being great days to go and get out in nature. And here we see it with the number 12 representing kind of like bundling, bringing together all of our life experiences into our autobiography, into one place. And, to remember that we are in the Trecena of forgiveness, the Trecena of acceptance, the Trecena of understanding. And for me, it's kind of like, I think about nature, and I think about going into nature, and I think about, whether the trees or, kind of like, do they hold a grudge when people have broken a stem or something like that? I mean, I'm not suggesting people go and break a stem or whatever. But it's like nature kind of like gets on with it. It's not going to put any energy into holding a grudge between something. Now we might see that the deer may, try to evade the humans if it feels like it's being hunted. It's learned. I feel that by connecting with nature, it can help us to understand forgiveness in a greater level. I mean, when you look at it as what humans have done to the natural world, nature is not our enemy. Nature is not saying we'll teach those humans a lesson or whatever it is, or maybe it is, I don't know. But kind of like from my point of view, it's still about going out there and connecting with the natural world and using that as a guideline of how to let go of things, how to release things, how to drop that shame or blame or guilt through reconnecting with nature and remembering your place in the natural world. And then finally, on the 1st of December, we will move into the day 13 Anil. So we have Anil representing yellowness, representing brightness, Anil representing abundance, and here with the number 13 representing spirit, representing the ancestors. It is abundance turned up to the maximum. It is the abundance that comes from the ancestors, the abundance that comes from spirit. I mean, 13 Anil should be a highly, highly positive day. It can be a very strong day. And for me, in some ways, this could be like the, kind of like the prize that we're going to. What do we get rewarded with when we finish those 13 days of forgiveness? We get rewarded with 13 Anil, the most joyful and positive and beneficial day of all. So, the abundance that comes from the ancestors as the result of 13 days of forgiveness. The abundance that comes to us when we drop that shame, that blame, that guilt, when we put our energy into growing, into maturing, into ripening, into shining the way that we can shine. And that shine coming from not allowing that kind of like, not holding on to those dark memories, as it were, not holding on to that shame and blame and guilt, like moving forward from it. And this is not just, kind of like some superficial ripening. This is the ripening of our soul. This is the ripening that comes from our connection with the ancestors. This is the ripening that takes us to our highest possibilities, coming in on that day 13 Anil. So it's a great day for a divination to ask, hey, how might I ripen further? How might I bring abundance for my family and for my community? And for me, this, kind of like can be guided by the ancestors. So I feel that the 13th Anil ends the Ajmak Trecena on a very positive note. If we actually go out and do the work of forgiveness, of acceptance, and of asking to be forgiven, our ultimate step is 13 Anil, the abundance from the ancestors. So I hope that that's been interesting for you today, and I look forward to seeing you in 13 days' time for the Trecena of Toch, the 13 days of service. Thank you.